Alright, this video is going to be another instructional video about Yahoo Japan auctions. Well, I get a ton of questions about where do I get this stuff, where do I find this stuff, how do I buy from Japan, and etc, etc, etc. You cannot sign up for Yahoo Japan auctions if you do not live in Japan. That's just, you need a Japanese address to be able to sign up. So, the only way that I know of to get stuff from Japan is to sign up for a proxy service. And the proxy services that I use are Rinkia and Shopping Mall Japan, but there are many others out there. Several of my forum members use Japonica Market and Japan Auction Center, and there'll be links in the info box to let you know where to get to these sites. But basically what these sites do is enter a bid for you on Yahoo Japan items. And you sign up through their service, and most of the time you just put a deposit down or place a credit card authorization, and then you have so much money that you can use on their site. If you don't have a credit card, it's even tougher. You have to send in money, and then they have that allotted money, and if you order something, they'll use that allotted money, or you can send in more money and then keep kind of a deposit with them. But I'm kind of shaky on that whole thing. I don't use that method. I use a credit card authorization. When you sign up for a proxy service, what they'll do, they don't charge your credit card. That's a big question that I get. They don't charge the credit card. So if you want like a $250 balance, they don't charge your card $250 right off the bat. They just have that as an authorization to make sure that your card can handle that charge. And then if you order items, then they'll use that charge if you do not pay. So they have access to your credit card. And then if you keep paying, then that deposit is fairly irrelevant. It's just your cap on how much you can bid. And then if you decide not to pay, they'll just charge your card automatically, which that's fair. It's kind of a tough thing when dealing with a bunch of different customers. They're a middleman. So they buy the auction, they pay for the auction, and that's their transaction, that's their contract with the seller from Yahoo Japan Auctions. Then you're the second customer who gets it, and if you don't decide to buy it, they're stuck with it. So they'll get their money if you're a flake. So don't be a flake. I find that Rinkia has pretty high commissions. Now all of these places have commissions, and it makes sense. They're providing you a service. A lot of them are higher than others. For cheaper stuff, like under 1,000 yen, I'll use Rinkia, unless I have to go somewhere else to avoid a other user charge from Shopping Mall Japan or something like that. That's when two Shopping Mall Japan customers want the same item, and there's a bunch of different fee tables for that too. But yes, it is expensive to order things from Japan, and it is addictive, you'll notice from my room. That it is an addictive process, so be careful when you go to do this. Just make sure that you have a budget and a definite limit on some of this stuff. Some of it will be cheaper than finding it on eBay. Some of it will not. But yes, a lot of the items that I buy new come from Japan directly. I may not get them as quick as I might if I had bought them on eBay, but sometimes they will be cheaper, sometimes they won't. Most of the time I do pretty well. So I know if the shipping's going to be too high that I'll let another seller, buy in bulk, and then I'll buy it off of eBay because they get a lesser shipping charge than I would if I had shipped it myself. So just keep that in mind. So in order to start looking at Yahoo Japan auctions, most of the proxy services have like translated auction searches and stuff like that. I find that if you don't go directly to Yahoo Japan Auctions itself and plug in the Japanese text, which I have on my website for all the characters that I collect, if you don't use that Japanese characters, that if you use a translated service, you're not getting all the auctions. I started by using their translating auction services, and they missed a bunch of stuff when I went directly to the site. So I go directly to the site. And once you find an item, then you basically go through the frequently asked questions on the proxy service on how to enter in that bid. Each has their own system. Most of the time it's the same. You just grab the URL or just the auction ID, and you plug it into their automated system. Now, if they don't have an automated system, then most of the time they'll just have a bar to enter in all the information, and then someone reads that information and goes and does a manual bid based on their employees that actually have the Yahoo Japan auction membership. Now, one thing about Yahoo Japan auctions that's kind of different than eBay is that you can't snipe, really. It's much more difficult to snipe because they enter a bid through a system, and that system places the bid on Yahoo Japan. So it's not instantaneous, and normally I bid a couple of days before, or maybe that day within 24 hours. But I've never been able to snipe bid something, which has never really been advantageous on Yahoo Japan auctions anyway. Occasionally there's crazy bidding at the very end of the auction, but most likely the biggest bid is made a couple of days before. And that's just my experience in buying the items that I like. Other things may be different, but sometimes there'll be services out there that'll have you do a manual bid where you can ask them to bid at the last minute. I haven't had any success with that. And if you have a manual bid, you better talk to them days before the auction. They will not get back to you within 24 hours. So the big tip is, if you use one of these services, don't count on them being able to bid on something within an hour or even a day. And basically, I mean, I don't read Japanese, so their Google Translate is a really good way. You just copy the URL, plug it into Google Translate, and it'll translate the entire page for you. Really, you get to learn most of the icons and whatnot, and what everything is on the page without actually having to read the Japanese. It's laid out much like eBay, but with descriptions and stuff like that. When you want to know the collectability or the condition of the item, a lot of times there'll be a short blurb on Japanese auction sites that have that information. Now, they'll only mention if the item is damaged in some way. Japanese auction sellers, in the Japanese honor system, it's assumed that the seller is honorable and that they sell good items and that they don't have to talk about condition. So oftentimes, if the auction is in good condition, there will be nothing about the condition in the auction because they just hope that you assume that they're selling a good item. Otherwise, they're very, very upfront about the conditions of the item. If they're dirty, damaged, or whatever. A lot of times, if you get like a dirty item or an opened item or something like that, a lot of Japanese collectors don't like those items, so they'll go cheaper. And it's not as big of a deal to us U.S. collectors. You just want the item. So I find a lot of stuff that may not be in the crazy utmost best condition, but I do get a better deal. And if it was here in the United States, it'd probably be about that condition after shipping, and then much, much more expensive. Also, these proxy services do, for the most part, a extremely good job of packing this stuff for travel overseas. Rinky does a little bit different than Shopping Mall Japan. Rinky ships it directly to you. So if you're out of the United States, that might be the one to go to. Shopping Mall Japan orders everything and ships it directly to the United States, or they ship it to you from their warehouse in the U.S. So you save a little bit on bulk shipping because they put everybody's items together and then sort it out at the warehouse when it gets there. And I'm nearing my 10-minute mark. So hopefully this answered a bunch of questions for you, because I get all that all the time. There's also a bunch of information on my website. There's going to be, in the Collector's Resource Forum, there's a section on a walkthrough about how to order items from Japan. And it's very good. I've had a lot of people tell me that that's a good FAQ. So if you want to, please go there, and there's all the information there. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any more questions, and I'll do another video if there's a lot of questions. So hit me back. Bye.